The internet didn't simply wake up, it erupted overnight. Unexpectedly, a collection of previously unseen, deleted tweets linked to Erika Kirk resurfaced from accounts few people even knew existed. As these posts spread, public perception shifted rapidly. These were not light-hearted throwbacks or harmless remarks. They appeared serious in tone and surprisingly revealing, showing a side of Erika that supporters and critics alike were not expecting. What intensified the reaction was the timing. The posts were not from an early, unknown phase of her life. They came from a specific period that appeared to overlap with important moments connected to Charlie's personal and professional journey. As people examined the timestamps more closely, details that once went unnoticed suddenly felt connected. One early resurfaced line caught widespread attention, suggesting that people can appear perfect publicly while acting very differently in private. At first, no one was certain who the message was referring to. But as more context emerged through discussions, archived material, and online analysis, many began forming their own interpretations. Conversations spread rapidly across social platforms, with users carefully examining every word that had been brought back into view. A second resurfaced message drew even more attention, as viewers began comparing its timing with a period when Charlie was reportedly struggling emotionally. The discussion intensified when a third post appeared, shared during the same week that insiders later described as one of Charlie's most difficult moments. This alignment caused many to pause, not because of any single sentence, but because of how the timing seemed to mirror known events. As these details circulated, online discussion shifted from shock to reflection, with many focusing on how context and timing can completely change the way old messages are understood. Suddenly, everything began to line up. The audio clips reflected the same tone. The leaked messages carried a similar attitude. Even moments from viral videos seemed clearer in hindsight. Reactions from family members and unnamed sources started to feel more understandable to many viewers. But the discussion intensified when online researchers uncovered a deeper layer. The posts were traced back to a secondary, locked account with very limited visibility. An account believed to be used for private thoughts, shared without expectation of public discovery. As attention turned to that account, people carefully reviewed old activity, noting repeated themes, patterns in language, and consistent emotional signals. Some messages were no longer interpreted as vague or abstract. A few appeared unusually direct in tone, sparking widespread debate. As audiences revisited previously released audio and clips, many said the context now felt different, prompting renewed discussion across platforms. Live commentators struggled to respond in real time. Supporters expressed visible emotion, while critics called for clearer explanations. A family member's public reaction added another emotional layer to the conversation. Then came an unexpected turn. Viewers noticed posts that seemed to reference another individual, mentioning attention, connection, and emotional closeness. Some believe these remarks align with details people think they noticed in the background of earlier recordings. This has led to a wave of unanswered questions and speculation online. Discussions continue to grow as screenshots circulate and new voices come forward with personal interpretations. Throughout it all, public statements remain limited. What has captured attention most is not any single post, but the contrast between a carefully maintained public image and the more complicated picture people now believe they are seeing. Long before these messages resurfaced, many now argue that subtle signs were already present, unnoticed by most, but visible to those who were looking closely. What many people now believe is that subtle digital traces had been present for a long time, signals the public only recently started noticing. To understand why these leaks caused such a strong reaction, many are revisiting the long and complicated emotional environment surrounding Erika and those who deeply cared about Charlie. This was not viewed as a simple relationship with ordinary challenges. People close to the situation describe ongoing emotional distance, quiet tension, and moments that left observers uncomfortable. The reappearance of the hidden posts did more than raise questions. For Charlie's sister, they appeared to validate concerns she had carried silently for years. Those close to Charlie recall noticeable changes in him well before the public noticed anything unusual. Once confident and expressive, he gradually became more reserved. Friends said he began doubting himself, apologizing unnecessarily, and questioning his own emotions. With the resurfaced posts, many now believe these feelings did not come from nowhere. One message from the private account stood out to many readers, reflecting emotional exhaustion rather than openness, and it struck people as deeply unsettling in hindsight. The timing of that message caught widespread attention, as it appeared shortly after Charlie had confided to a friend about feeling tense at home. Online discussion quickly focused on whether this alignment was accidental. As people looked further back, earlier memories began resurfacing. Individuals who worked around the couple recalled moments that once seemed minor but now felt more meaningful. Some remembered sharp exchanges under stress or moments where support appeared absent when it was needed most. At the time, these incidents were dismissed as everyday pressures. But with new context, many feel they reflected a deeper pattern. Charlie's sister, according to those close to her, had long held private worries she chose not to share publicly. She noticed changes in his energy, his confidence, and his behavior in social settings. Questions lingered in her mind for years, questions that now seem partially answered by the resurfaced messages, even if those answers were painful to confront. One particular resurfaced line drew intense attention online, as viewers connected it to accounts of Charlie's emotional state during his final months. Insiders had previously mentioned that he struggled quietly with stress and feeling unheard. Seeing that message now caused many to reflect deeply. Another post from the same account intensified the reaction due to its timing, which appeared to coincide with reports of one of Charlie's most difficult weeks. As people compared dates, audio clips, and personal accounts, discussions accelerated rapidly. But what shifted the conversation most was the discovery that these posts were not written into isolation. Screenshots suggested ongoing exchanges with another private user, featuring language that many interpreted as emotionally familiar. While nothing explicit was shown, the closeness of the interaction raised new questions. Online forums quickly filled with theories, comparisons, and speculation, as people debated whether this connection was relevant to previously released recordings. The situation continues to unfold, with many focusing less on rumors and more on how hidden digital behavior can reshape understanding long after the fact. Online analysis intensified rapidly. Short videos broke down background audio details, while users examined sound patterns and timing using various tools. Many felt the similarities were unsettling. Then attention shifted to another resurfaced post from the private account, one that suggested appreciation often comes only when attention is given elsewhere. The timing of that message drew heavy focus because it appeared shortly before a major disagreement later described by those close to Charlie. For Charlie's sister, this only deepened a belief she had held quietly for a long time, that something important was unfolding out of public view. As more archived material surfaced, many began to see these posts not as isolated thoughts, but as part of a larger sequence that appeared to explain emotional distance and growing tension. Discussions escalated further when insiders, previously silent, began stepping forward. What followed was described by many as the moment the situation shifted entirely, when deeper examination of the private account revealed information that went far beyond public posts and into hidden exchanges that had never been meant to surface. The turning point came when reports emerged suggesting that private messages linked to the account still existed. That single revelation triggered a surge of attention across platforms, with many creators pausing regular content to focus on the updates. As excerpts circulated, people began to understand that the posts were not standalone remarks, but part of ongoing conversations. The account was no longer viewed as a place for private expression alone, but as a channel for a close and personal connection. One short message, widely discussed, suggested a level of emotional understanding that shocked viewers due to its timing. As more context appeared, it became clear these exchanges took place during a period when Charlie was described as struggling deeply in private. Attention then turned to the identity of the person on the other side of the conversation, someone not previously known to the public but familiar enough to raise serious questions once past interactions were noticed. As additional messages surfaced, many felt the tone revealed a level of emotional closeness that went beyond casual conversation. These exchanges appeared to happen while Charlie was feeling increasingly isolated, unaware that his partner was leaning on someone else for reassurance and understanding. Suddenly, earlier clues seemed to fall into place for many observers. But the reaction escalated again when a later message suggested emotional exhaustion and detachment at a moment when Charlie was reportedly seeking support. The timing of the replies intensified the response, as viewers compared dates with known events. Online reactions slowed to silence in many live discussions, while others expressed shock and sadness. When a private audio recording later surfaced, featuring Charlie expressing concern and uncertainty in a vulnerable moment, it spread rapidly. Listeners described it as deeply emotional, not because of accusations, but because of the fear and hurt in his voice. The reaction across social media was overwhelming, with people sharing support, personal reflections, and messages of empathy, as the conversation shifted toward understanding emotional struggles and the importance of compassion. But many say the voicemail was not the true turning point. According to emerging claims, the real shift happened when an insider revealed that Charlie had confronted Erika about the messages during their final argument. This confrontation is believed to be connected to a recording the family has chosen not to release publicly. Insiders suggest this recording may provide crucial context about Charlie's emotional state during his final days. As people reviewed everything together, the resurfaced posts, the private accounts, the personal messages, the unfamiliar connection, and the tense audio, many felt the pieces formed a single, troubling timeline. Online discussion grew intense as viewers speculated about what that last conversation may have involved. The situation escalated quickly, with rumors spreading faster than official responses. Attempts to manage the situation appeared overwhelmed as attention shifted from isolated leaks to a broader re-examination of Erika's private actions and public image. As the conversation evolved, expectations changed. People anticipated arguments and emotional strain, but few expected the possibility of something more complex beneath the surface. The discussion took another turn when digital analysis reports suggested that more than one private account might be linked to the same source. This discovery triggered widespread debate. Some questioned whether multiple accounts were used to express different emotions or maintain separate private conversations. Soon after, attention focused on another account with a different name and tone, yet strikingly similar writing habits. To many observers, the similarities felt too precise to dismiss. This second account drew attention not because of volume, but because of its direct and unusually revealing tone. Viewers described the posts as coded messages, written in a way that felt intentional, as if meant to be noticed by someone specific rather than the public at large. One resurfaced post from that account quickly became a focal point of discussion, especially due to its timing shortly after Charlie's last known private message. Online, many interpreted it as symbolic rather than literal, and comparisons spread rapidly. Another post followed, fueling speculation that emotional distance had already taken hold. Reactions were immediate and intense, with debates erupting across platforms about intent, meaning, and timing. The conversation shifted again when a person described as part of Erika's inner circle came forward with an alleged statement shared in confidence. It suggested she felt a stronger emotional connection in conversations outside her marriage. While no names were publicly confirmed, many online believed the identity was already implied based on previous patterns and interactions. With archived posts, timing overlaps, and ongoing discussion, the narrative continued to grow, leaving audiences debating how much hidden context can change the way public stories are understood. The whistleblower then shared another claim that intensified the discussion. They alleged Charlie overheard a statement he was never meant to hear. Speculation spread quickly about where it may have come from, a private conversation, a call, or an argument away from cameras. According to the account, Charlie heard words that suggested she believed she had moved beyond the relationship. The idea alone struck many deeply, given how committed Charlie was believed to be. What followed stunned online audiences even more. The whistleblower claimed that this moment was recorded. Reactions were immediate and emotional across platforms, as people considered what such a recording might represent. If that moment exists, many believe it could offer context far beyond a single disagreement, shedding light on the emotional weight Charlie was carrying near the end. As these claims circulated, another person with close access to Charlie during his final days stepped forward. That individual shared that Charlie's distress went beyond simple heartbreak. According to them, he felt replaced rather than supported. This idea quickly resonated with many who had been following the timeline closely. As discussions continued, connections were drawn between the private accounts, the emotional exchanges, the distancing behavior, and the final confrontation. Another anonymous statement attributed to someone in Erika's wider circle added fuel to the debate, suggesting she felt constrained and emotionally exhausted. Online reaction was intense, as viewers contrasted these claims with her public image. The discussion took another turn when digital analysts reported recovering a deleted draft message from a private account. The draft, never publicly shared, appeared to suggest readiness to move forward emotionally. Its timing, shortly before Charlie's reported downward spiral, caused widespread silence online as many absorbed the implications. For many observers, this led to a painful conclusion. They felt Charlie may have been trying to hold together a relationship that had already shifted emotionally without his knowledge. That realization spread rapidly and deeply across social media. Yet the story did not stop there. Attention turned to why the family has continued to withhold a particular recording. As more people came forward privately, journalists and creators reported an increase in messages from individuals who had stayed silent for years. Behind the scenes, accounts suggest that more context exists than the public has heard so far. What unsettled many most was the claim that there may be more than one unreleased recording. According to insiders, a second file exists that has deeply affected those who have heard it, including members of both families. While details remain undisclosed, subtle hints shared online by Charlie's sister left many believing that what remains unheard could significantly change how the entire story is understood. That hint suggested something deeply unsettling, that Charlie knew something important, and that Erika knew he knew. Those words opened a wave of questions online. What did Charlie discover? What truth was he carrying alone? According to one insider who claims to have heard both recordings, clarity came not through leaked audio, but through a reported line spoken during a private confrontation. The sentence shared was described as quiet, shaken, and full of hurt, expressing that Charlie believed he had heard Erika say she felt happier with someone else. That single claim changed the tone of the entire discussion. For many viewers, it shifted the narrative from speculation to heartbreak, suggesting Charlie felt certain about what he had overheard. The insider added that Erika's alleged response made the moment even more painful, as it appeared dismissive of his emotions. When this account circulated, online spaces grew noticeably somber, with many people sharing personal reflections about trust, emotional distance, and unspoken pain. The situation intensified further when the same source suggested that another person may have been physically present during the confrontation. According to this account, it was not a voice from a call or background noise, but someone standing nearby. This detail sent discussions into overdrive, as people debated what that presence might mean. If true, many felt it would indicate an extreme lack of emotional awareness at a deeply sensitive moment. The insider claimed the third party spoke directly, reinforcing the finality of the situation. This allegation sparked widespread outrage online, not because of drama, but because of the emotional impact such a moment could have on someone already struggling. Platforms flooded with reactions, with many emphasizing empathy and the importance of handling personal conflict with care. What affected people most, however, was not the confrontation itself, but Charlie's reported response. According to the account, he did not argue or raise his voice. Instead, he expressed a simple desire to feel loved again. That line resonated deeply across the internet. Many viewers said it reframed everything they had seen so far. To them, it painted Charlie not as dramatic or unstable, but as someone expressing vulnerability at his lowest point. The insider then shared one final claim that explained why the family has kept the recording private. They alleged that a remark was made that minimized Charlie's emotional pain at a moment when he was clearly overwhelmed. Knowing what followed in the weeks after, that detail caused intense backlash online. The recording reportedly ends with Charlie expressing that he felt unable to cope, after which the audio cuts off. That silence became one of the heaviest parts of the story. After these details emerged, online reaction turned into a mix of grief, anger, and unanswered questions. Many demanded transparency, while others urged restraint out of respect for the family. Journalists and commentators described the situation as one of the most emotionally complex stories they had followed, not because of scandal, but because of the human cost involved. The family has remained firm in their decision not to release the recording, stating through sources that their intention is not to protect any individual, but to avoid further harm. It is also widely believed that another person's identity is tied to the unreleased audio, and revealing it could cause significant consequences. Because of that, the recording remains private, and the full truth remains incomplete. What this story has become is more than a viral controversy. For many, it is a painful example of how hidden emotional struggles, private words, and unseen dynamics can shape lives in irreversible ways. The messages, the accounts, and the recordings are viewed not as entertainment, but as fragments of a much larger and unresolved reality. As attention continues to grow, viewers are encouraged to approach the conversation with empathy and responsibility. Share your thoughts respectfully. What do you believe remains undisclosed? Why might certain details be protected? And what lessons can be taken from how this situation unfolded? The story is still developing, and when the next update comes, it may bring clarity or raise even more difficult questions. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and stay aware.